So, I don't know if you saw, but I posted some articles a couple of days ago about the subject of geoengineering. So this is something that I have spoken about a lot, and I've taken a lot of flack about. Oh, you're shouting at the clouds and don't be ridiculous, and it's all just very normal, nothing to see here. So a couple of days ago there were some articles come out. This one is Climate Change News. I shall read you a few little excerpts. The European Union should proactively negotiate for a global regime that governs controversial technologies designed to cool the planet and push to prevent their deployment, its scientific advisors have said. The recommendations from the EU Scientific Advice Mechanism mark the first time the bloc has received such advice on a highly divisive group of technologies known as Solar Radiation Management, SRM. Again, I've spoken about and I got told I was an idiot. It's a risky strategy. SRM carries major uncertainties and wide-ranging risks that are poorly understood. Deployment is likely to bring substantial negative ecological and economic effects, including changing patterns of rainfall. Impacts on ecosystems. No bugs this year. A decrease in the security of food production. Worst harvest in decades, I think we've had the UK this year. And in the potential of solar energy. The EU doesn't have an official position on SRM, although it does not consider it as a solution. According to a 2023 policy scoping paper, which describes the deployment of these technologies as an unacceptable risk for humans and the environment. The EU should take a leading role in negotiating a global governance system and push for the non-deployment of SRM in the foreseeable future, with exemptions for limited outdoor research that meet a set of conditions and risk considerations. Okay, so that was all from Climate Change News. It's also in Politico, who talk about the same exact things. Yep. And it says, it's why the EU must prioritise cutting emissions and agree on an EU-wide moratorium on the use of SRM as a measure for offsetting climate change. And they want the bloc to push for an international treaty governing the technologies, negotiating for global non-deployment of SRM in the foreseeable future. Apparently, Switzerland has sought to start the global conversation on SRM governance for years, but could not find enough support given the heated debates around the subject. But then it does say the EU should reevaluate its positions on SRM every 5 to 10 years to ensure the latest research is considered. So, I hope that kind of puts that debate to bed, that I'm not crazy, and this is a thing that they've been doing. And a bit like our cows and milk in the UK, a big advocate involved in this is none other than Bill Gates. And this technology, SRM, is based on a volcanic eruption that happened that brought down temperatures a few degrees, but it also caused mass crop failure, starvation, and spread disease, killing many. So not something I think any responsible government should do. Sounds absurd. And anyone who thinks they should play God with our infinitely sensitive ecosystems and nature and climate is either deranged or very evil. everything is in such careful balance in the world, and you mess around with nature at your peril. Nobody has the right to mess around with our weather, and especially blocking the sun with fake cloud. And we have a God-given right to sunlight, and it has an immeasurable amount of benefits for humans and wildlife and plants. And yet they seem quite happy to block it for some climate change. As I said, everything that these climate change nutters do seems to be anti-nature, anti-climate, anti-environment, anti-human, anti-animal, anti-everything. And with SRM, what they use is sulfur dioxide, which until now responsible governments have tracked because they know it's linked to things like respiratory and cardiovascular disease in humans, problems, amongst other things. So they've wanted to make sure it's kept to a bare minimum. And yet now, because of crazy eco-zealots like Bill Gates, they're actively spraying it in the atmosphere to create a fake cloud, thinking this is good for planet Earth. So the Earth has been way hotter many times before in history, way colder. And CO2 levels have varied massively, and we're at record lows of CO2, which is plant life, the gas of life. And humans have generally flourished in warmer climates. Life is easier, life is cheaper. All right, so why do they want us under constant dark, cold, grey weather where crops fail? Makes no sense. None of it makes any sense. So any responsible government, any responsible leader who truly loves humans needs to make sure this thing, we've had cloud seeding since the 50s that have caused floods and uses things like silver iodine. But solar radiation management is another level. And it is the most anti-human thing I think I've ever come across, or at least the most anti-planet nature thing, bar the solar panels, wind turbines, fake meats, questionable vaccines. To take away sunlight is unforgivable, and it needs banning, like many American states have done across the globe.